This is Cheryl Manley from Sharing Love of Paper. I'm so glad you could join me today. Today we continue our look at easel cards by making a special triple heart easel card. We'll start with half a sheet of patterned paper, but since we won't need all of that for the easel card, we'll make a simple card from the rest. I've started by cutting my half sheet of patterned paper crosswise at 7 1/4. I'll be using the 6 by 7 1/4 piece for the triple easel, and I'll set the other one aside for later. In fact, I'll set both aside for now and bring in my cardstock. I've created 3 templates that I'll be using with my cardstock. Each of them has a couple of dotted lines near the top edge. These dotted lines need to be placed on the fold of the cardstock. I want the largest and the smallest to be cut from basic white cardstock, a full 8.5 by 11 sheet that is scored in half at 5.5 and folded along the score line. The middle-sized heart will be cut from colored cardstock. In this case, I'll use cherry cobbler. This piece is 5.5 by 8.5, scored in half at 4 1/4, and folded along that score line, just as though I was creating a basic A2-sized card. I'm lining up my large heart and my small heart on the folded white cardstock along the fold line. Please ignore the fact that they're backwards. They shouldn't be. I'm just going to trace around the edges with a pencil. I've already done that for the small one, but we'll just quickly do it for this large one. Similarly, I'll line up the middle-sized heart on my folded piece of cherry cobbler cardstock. I've already traced this one. Now I'll simply cut out the shapes, cutting through both layers and following the pencil lines I've just drawn. I'll just speed up the video as I cut out this first one. Then I'll cut the rest off camera, since you don't need to watch me doing a bunch of fussy cutting. Now, before I go off camera, I'm going to show you how I score the front of this to create an easel. If you look at my template, you can see that in addition to the score lines at the top that went on the fold, there's another score line in the middle of the template. I want to score the heart in half. I'll line the fold up at 2 3/4 inches and score just the front layer. I don't want the cut blade, I want the scoring blade for this. Then I'll just fold along the score line and erase the pencil marks along the edge. I'll do the same off camera for the other 2 hearts, scoring the middle-sized one at 2 inches and the smallest one at 1 1/4. Now, while I was off camera, I also used some of the scraps to prepare a few decorative pieces. I used one of the dies from Hearts of Elegance to cut a faux embroidered heart from the cherry cobbler cardstock. I used a stamp from Flower Cart to stamp Happy Mother's Day on a piece of white cardstock, fussy cut it, glued it to a scrap of cherry cobbler, and fussy cut a mat for it. I also stamped Love You using a stamp from Hearts of Elegance. I fussy cut that, and now I'm just going to glue it to the cherry cobbler cardstock scraps. Oh dear, that didn't work as planned. That made a real mess. I'm going to turn the cardstock over and try the other side. I'll rub the glue off my hands and then fussy cut this mat. As I fussy cut, you'll notice that I'm twisting the paper rather than the scissors. I don't try to turn the scissors because that puts my hand in a really awkward position and I don't get nearly as good a cut line. I just keep turning the paper as I cut. I'll again speed up the video so you don't have to sit here watching me cut this for so long. Okay, the other thing I did off camera was to die cut the two smallest hearts in the Hearts of Elegance die set, cutting them from white cardstock. Now I want to stamp on the smallest one. The stamp is from the coordinating Hearts of Elegance stamp set, though it's made to stamp the next larger heart. I'm going to ink up my stamp with cherry cobbler ink, but because the heart is so small and this is a rubber stamp making it harder to center it, I'm going to turn my stamp upside down. Now I just lay the cardstock heart on top and lightly press all over it. It's definitely messier. I get ink all over my fingers this way, but you can see that it works to give me a nice stamped image. I'll clean up off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, now let's cut the patterned paper. I'll bring in the 6 by 7 1/4 piece that we cut earlier. I have 3 templates here. They're a bit hard to see. As with my other templates, I cut them from acetate packaging I had, so they're pretty see-through. They are just a bit smaller than the previous ones. I'm using double-sided patterned paper, and I want to cut the middle heart from this side, choosing how I want to align it with the pattern. The reverse pattern is an all-over pattern where orientation doesn't really matter, so I'll lay out all 3 templates from this side to make sure they all fit. However, since I'm going to be using the back side for the large and small hearts, I'll turn them upside down, since my patterns may not be quite symmetrical. Once I get them laid out the way I want, I simply draw around them with my pencil and fussy cut them. I'll speed up the video here so you're not watching me trace around these forever. Once again, I won't make you sit here and watch me fussy cut them. I'll just cut these off camera and then I'll be back. All right, I want to use the back side, the front side, and the back side. Let's bring in my cardstock pieces. The large one will go with the large one, the middle on the middle, and the small on the small. Now, as with other easels, we have to be careful how we glue these pieces together. As we've done with previous easels, we simply center the paper on the cardstock, then fold it back and mark along the fold with a pencil. This tells us where we want to put our glue so none of it goes above the fold line. I'll add the glue and center it again, making sure there is no glue above the fold line. I'll do the same for the remaining 2. Center it, fold it back, draw my line, make sure the glue stays below that line. Center it again. Now for the last one. Center it. Fold it back. Draw my line. Add my glue. Center it again. Make sure there's no glue above the line. Now I'm just realizing that I forgot to make sure all my pencil lines were gone, so I'll just bring in my eraser really quick and get rid of all those pencil lines. Okay, now before I put these together, I'm going to go ahead and decorate them. I'm going to start by adding this heart-shaped doily. But I just realized I forgot something. Paper doilies often have little bits left in them from not being cut cleanly. I want to remove all those little bits. I use my Take Your Pick tool and my scissors to clean out those bits. I had intended to have that already done, but I suppose it doesn't hurt to mention the issue. However, you don't need to watch me do all of this, so I'll take it off camera and be back in just a bit. Okay, now I'll just go ahead and put a bit of glue on the doily. Don't need a lot. Then I'll just put it in place. I'll add the cherry cobbler die-cut heart. And finally, I'll add a white bow using a mini glue dot. I'll just pick the glue dot up with my bow and then add it. I like it in the center of the heart, but because only the top of the heart will show on display, I decided to put it a little bit higher. Next, I have this prepared sentiment that I'll glue to the middle heart. There's a little extra glue on here, so I'll bring in my glue eraser to get rid of it. Notice that I don't rub back and forth, always in the same direction. Okay, there's that one. Now for the littlest. I'll go ahead and glue the larger of the two hearts. then the one that I stamped. Finally, I'll add the sentiment I prepared earlier. I'm just putting glue in the center of it because the ends won't be touching the heart because of the layers. I realized that I had forgotten to die cut the smallest heart out of cherry cobbler cardstock scraps, so I did that off camera. Now it's time to start putting them all together. Each heart will be a stopper for the next largest, and this small one will be the stopper for the littlest heart. I'll put some mini Stampin' Dimensionals at the top of the heart and then put glue at the bottom. I'll just remove the backing papers. It's a different angle than I'm used to, but I'll get them. Now I'll bring it in and add it to the bottom of the inside of the smallest heart. I'll put glue on the back of the middle heart and line it up on the inside of the largest heart at the bottom. We want each one to line up at the bottom for this to work right. I'll do the same with the smallest heart. There's my card. I'll just set them up as for display. When I close it, I just bring each one down and close it. I might want to add a little more to the center of the large heart. I'll think about that later. You've certainly got the idea. Let's take a quick look at the second card. Off camera, I cut my 4 3/4 by 6-inch patterned paper piece to 4 by 5 1/4. I'll set aside my scraps to use on the inside of the card. I need a piece of white cardstock that is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. I'll score that at 4 1/4 and fold it into a standard A2 card base. Now I want to cut this piece. As long as all cuts are either vertical or horizontal, it really doesn't matter how you cut it. Diagonals get tricky, so we won't do that. The idea is you cut your pieces however you want to cut them, but turn one or more to the back side for extra interest. I'm going to cut this one in 3 pieces. I'll cut off 1 1/4 inch from each side. I'll turn the centerpiece to show the back side. Next, I'll glue these in place. Because I only made cuts in one direction, there will be more border on the sides than on the top and bottom. I'll line them up and do my best to center them as I glue them in place. Now I'll decorate my card. I'll start with another doily. Again, I didn't get all the little bits out of my doily, so I'll take that cleanup off camera. All right, now I'll just glue this in place like we did with the other one, adding just a little glue to hold it in place. I'll center it, making sure it's aligned. Then the question is, do I want the brighter red, real red, or the darker red, cherry cobbler, for the center of this? It just depends on how much of each color is showing. I decided on the brighter red. I think I'll just add this gold trim bow and then maybe a strip sentiment. I have a strip of white cardstock that is 3/8 inch wide and a stamp from an old Stampin' Up kit called Sentimental Rose. I'll stamp it using real red ink to match the small heart. I'll go ahead and stamp Best Wishes on my strip. Then I'll trim the end to a point. Once I have it the way I want it, I'll take a scrap and trim it the same so I can use it as a template. I find a template works best because otherwise my ends don't match. I'll just use the template to cut the other end, and I'm ready to add it to my card front. I think I'll use a few mini Stampin' Up! Dimensionals to add a bit more depth to the card front. Once I have that in place, I'll grab a mini glue dot for my bow and put it in place. Now we'll just use the scraps on the inside of the card. I think I'll use the larger piece face up and the reverse side of the narrow strip. After a bit of trial and error, I decide how I want it. I'll glue them each in place, starting with the large piece. Before gluing the narrow piece, I cut it to size. Sometimes I wait to trim until the piece is glued in place. It just depends. There's a bit of stray glue that I'll clean up with my glue eraser, and my second card is complete. So here are the two cards we made today. Here's a close-up of the triple heart easel, first closed, then as displayed. Then the second card that I made. And now here's a second set of cards that I made using a different paper from the same Marbled Elegance Designer Series paper. This one has more pink tones, and I used Melon Mambo cardstock for it. As you can see, while similar, the decorations are a little different, making a Valentine's card. The second card is also a bit different in that I cut it into 6 pieces and inked the edges with Melon Mambo ink before arranging them on the card as you see here. I used a stamp from the So Sincere set for the greeting, which was stamped in Melon Mambo on a small white die-cut heart and matted on Melon Mambo cardstock. I used the same bow, but put it below the small heart. Then I finished the card by adding a few gold stars from the loose gold stars assortment. I hope this video inspires you to make something fun yourself.